Hello, everyone.
Happy Friday.
Yes, it's Friday and we're going through books, and this is Say I Do Forever, and this is where we try our best to help you say I do forever. We're trying to give you the skills. Right now on Fridays, we're going through the book, The 5 Love Languages.
There it is.
And so join us. We are on chapter 9. Chapter 9, right?
Yep. Covering the five love languages that we already went over.
Yes, so we're on chapter 9. And did anybody notice all this week in all the videos, the man has shirts to match the videos?
Straight out of the library.
So
Wheel of Fortune, baby.
Book Friday, what does he do? He buys a book t-shirt.
So here's the reason behind the shirt. So we're talking about Book Friday.
Yes.
And we have a room full of books, and that's our library. So it makes perfect sense to have a shirt that says straight out of the library. So you'll see me in the library shirt on Fridays. Fun fact. Anyway.
Fun facts. So
let's hit it.
So we've already gone through the 5 love languages in the last 5 chapters. So you got a good overview of each of the love languages. And now he's going to break down his next few chapters, telling you how to use the love languages properly. And telling you, so what we did is, you can go back into those videos. There was words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. And you can go back and see those in our playlist. So now it's all about using those love languages properly. And Jay and I thought this section on page 122 was very interesting in how the love languages can hurt you, or how you can misuse your spouse's love language. Because we've been thinking this whole time about how we can tell our spouse that we love them through their love languages, but you can actually manipulate, and you can
be
abuse,
insincere,
and you can actually use it the wrong way to hurt them.
Yep.
So, this is a power that you need to use responsibly.
That's right. You have the power.
Now use it responsibly.
That's right.
So, what are some ways? I know one is just not being sincere. You need to be genuine and not...
Yeah, this is not being sincere. A hug, like an honest, heartfelt hug, is being sincere for someone that has the love language of physical touch.
So let's talk about each of those 5 and different ways. He breaks it down on page 123. Yeah. So first he talks about affirmation. So if your spouse's love language is word of affirmation, then what you say to your spouse is very critical.
Yep.
Your love language is words of affirmation for the most part.
I like words of affirmation for sure.
So how can someone use that, misuse it, or manipulate?
So if you have a spouse that is their love language is words of affirmation, you don't sit there and go, "You're so awesome. I am so impressed with your skills today. I can't believe you made that bookshelf." That is so fake and phony baloney.
You could say those same words and it'd be real.
It's like this. "I appreciate you so much. Thank you for all your hard work, period." Really? That's not from the heart. That's reading it off of a script, and that's not what they need. What they need is, "I appreciate all the work you've done. Thank you for busting your butt out in the yard," or "Thank you for putting that together," or "Thank you just for everything you do for us, for me, for the kids." That's sincere, not reading it off of a script.
Yeah. And he had another really interesting thing in the words of affirmation is silent treatment can actually devastate. It's already hard on any spouse, if you give them the silent treatment.
That would kill me.
But
if she did the silent treatment, that would absolutely destroy me.
Well, and ironically...
And make me bitter.
Ironically, that was my means of communication back in the day. I came from a family that did the silent treatment, and boy, they did it well.
Yeah.
And so I had that in my tool belt. Figured that's what marriage is about. You make me mad, I don't talk to you for days. And
I didn't say anything.
I look back at that now, reading this book, and realize what damage I did in my silent treatment, in my walking away, and I'm not going to speak to you now.
Yeah.
And you've hurt my feelings, and I'm not going to speak to you.
I still have scars. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Hopefully I made up for
I'm
it.
glad she read the book, and I'm glad she's figured it out.
Yeah. So, if you have a spouse that has words of affirmation, be very careful of your words, and don't use them to manipulate. Don't tell them what they want to hear so that you can have what you want. Yeah. So, okay. And then acts of service. Don't do acts of service than to have them do what you want them to do. Like, I'm going to do the laundry. See me doing the laundry?
Look at me folding the shirts. Are you paying attention?
And now I get brownie points, and now you can give me what I want.
Yeah. No need for manipulation.
Yeah.
Don't be insincere.
He actually talks about a gal, can't remember her name, but she always makes her husband lunch. And one of the days when she was upset with him, she said she went and made herself her lunch. And then she told him, make your own lunch, because she was mad. Well, his love language was acts of service. So to somebody else, they'd be like, fine then, I'll make my own lunch. But to him, it probably devastated him.
Yeah, and then now you've got the husband that's bitter. And if she thinks that he's going to do the love language for her, he's got another thing coming. Or she has another thing coming. It ain't going to happen. Guarantee you it's not going to happen. Then it escalates, and there we go with the fighting.
Yeah. So be careful if, using your acts of service. We were talking about this before we turned on the camera. My love language is not acts of service. However, he says, well, so I wish your love language was acts of service, because I could do that all day long. She's like, I could do that. I know how to do that.
Laundry.
He's good at
dishes. Oh, yeah.
And
get this puppy clean.
Don't get me wrong. Please keep doing the laundry. Keep doing dishes. Keep doing all of that, because I don't care that my love language isn't that. I need help.
Yeah.
We need help. So just because your spouse is not love language is acts of service, just keep helping. But
it's still going to make them happy.
But it doesn't fill their love tank.
You're contributing to the cause of marriage. You're contributing. So you may as well just do the extra, and then it's going to make them more happy. Not that it's their love tank language, but their love language.
And just like
but it's okay.
I need to do this more. But when we were first married, I would bring you tea or something to drink while you were working on the car, or while you were working on plumbing, or something like that. So,
soda or whatever.
I think your love language is an act of service, but you appreciate it. But how could I would, if I did that insincere, see, I brought you something to drink.
See how good I am.
Now,
here, let me set this before you.
Can you let me go out with the girls? You know what I mean?
I did this, so let me go do that.
Or let me have some spending money.
Yeah.
Or don't manipulate with acts of service.
No.
Okay, gifts.
It's not going to get you very far.
If your primary love language is gifts, you may relate to the story of the young girl who had a very hard Christmas one year. It was about her older brother, and he went to go find her a gift, and he just kind of found something in the house and didn't put much thought into it and gave it to her, and she was devastated. And it says she was deeply wounded. For me, this wouldn't. But if you know that your spouse's love language is gifts, and you don't put much thought into the gifts that you give, if you kind of last minute throw something together and here's your gift, and stick it in a paper bag.
Yeah. Happy birthday, and it's not even your birthday.
Yeah.
Have a happy birthday bag.
Yeah, so
It's like
you
you
can
obviously didn't put
actually,
any thought or effort into it.
yeah, you can actually wound somebody with, with that.
Well,
You
it'll
can
turn
also,
to bitterness, and then they'll be like, "Don't even bother anymore. Don't even bother anymore,"
yeah.
because I know it's not going to be sincere.
Okay, what about the spouse that's abusive and then after the abuse goes out and buys flowers? I feel like that's still manipulation. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
to a certain point. I mean, you
yeah,
could be really sorry, but if you're doing this all the time, it could
right.
be that you're not, what you're telling your spouse is, I don't really want to change my behavior, but
I'm gonna fix it with
I'm going to
flowers.
fix it with flowers. So you can't manipulate them to come back to you
No,
and to, you know,
it doesn't fix anything.
mm-mm.
It doesn't.
You got to fix, yeah, don't manipulate with gifts.
Yeah, that's not how this works. It's not how any of this works.
So okay, and then quality time. Um, it's saying that if you're spending the time, every evening you have dinner, you watch TV, you're doing blah 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 blah, and your spouse's um, love language is quality time. It might You may think, well, I'm spending a lot of time with you. What's wrong with you? And they're like, they want it to be different, special, quality. They don't want just the same old, same old. They want you to have thought about spending time with them. It's the same as giving gifts. You're thinking about what you're doing for them.
Yeah, and for the husbands, it's back in the day. I mean, it's more like phones now when you read like news and stuff. But back in the day, guys would have newspapers and giant newspaper,
Yeah,
and then they say,
the wall.
"Well, I'm spending time with you." No,
Yeah,
you're not.
no, you're not.
Reading the newspaper and you're ignoring your wife. That
And
is
so if you're
got to be
sitting
the
there
worst thing you could do.
next to your spouse scrolling through, the phone,
Yeah. That's not
that's not
spending time with
quality
your
time.
spouse. And the real sad part about this whole thing is you're showing your kids that that's okay. And if you have kids, that's not okay because they're seeing mom and dad on their phones constantly ignoring them and
Mhm.
ignoring each other. So
Yeah.
that's
And then how can you
not good.
manipulate with time? Quality time. Well, I spent time with you.
Yeah,
so
so let's go to the races.
so like you kind of use it to buy. It's almost like
like
I think
a
with
bartering.
with manipulation, it's more like I did this, so you have to do this.
Yeah,
That's not saying you love somebody. That's saying I want you to do something for me, so I'm going to do something for you, so you have to do something for me.
yeah. It's like when you buy somebody a Christmas present. The previous year you bought them like this nice
Mhm.
gift, and so then they feel obligated the next Christmas to buy you something nicer, and then the next one you buy some. I mean, you just keep escalating. It's not accomplishing anything, and
Yeah.
it's not a contest. It's not a contest.
So what we're saying is, even in all of these, is that do it from your heart because you're like, I love my spouse and I want them to know that I love them. I don't want anything in return. I want it to be real.
Yep.
I want it to be genuine. I want it to be a true I love you
Sincere.
motion. Yeah.
Sincere.
So touch, physical touch. This one it says it has the potential for the most abuse because I know in the last chapter it talked about a child who gets slapped in the face. It's going to hurt any child, but a child who has physical touch as their primary love language, that's going to scar them deeply.
Right.
I think, gosh, where was this book when our kids were growing up? Not that I slapped them all in the face or anything, but all of these love languages, you wonder, what were my kids' love languages? What, I need to give them all the tests and everything. And did I fulfill them properly? And my love language was physical touch. And that was a really hard, I still have scars from some of it, and maybe that's why it's kind of making me wake up to maybe things weren't as bad as I thought they were, but maybe they're
You're talking when you were younger.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Maybe because of my love language, they're huge to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have a real if you have a spouse that has physical touch and you're abusing them, pushing them, hitting them, even just abusing them in any way, you are scarring them even more than somebody else. I mean, it's bad all the way around.
Right.
But you have a real way of manipulation.
Yeah.
Or if you're giving them physical touch just to get to physical intimacy,
Yeah.
you're like, I'll do this so they can do that.
Yeah, and they're
And
going to
that's-
catch on to that. That has to be the most insincere. You can't,
Mhm.
you know, oh, I love you so much, and patty, 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 and rub, 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 and okay, let's go. It's like, no, that's
insincere.
Yeah, it's absolutely like it's stupid to do. So don't even try to pull it because they're going to catch on to it, and then you're going to be in the doghouse. They're going to be like, get away.
Yep.
So,
real quick, we really liked that part of this chapter. We also loved that this was a really good self-evaluation chapter. It has, if you're trying to figure out, even if you take the test, you want something even more concrete. Like you want to know. So he gives 3 questions to discover your own love language and maybe that of your spouse's. So the 3 questions are on page 125, and you're going to answer those and kind of just ponder and think about them. Maybe write them down, write what your spouses are. He does say that a lot of times, what have I most requested of my spouse? Or what are you always nagging? Your spouse may think that's nagging. What has your spouse asked you for over and over again, and you've been considering it nagging, but could it be that that's the core of their love language? So they're just frustrated and they keep asking and asking and asking, and it sounds like nagging.
And one of the things about that too is, let me find it. I think it's on this next page. Where this is what he says. He says to the husband, he says, where is it at? The greatest thing you could do for me right now, or back up here. One husband said to me, I don't like that love tank game.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the love tank game before you say that.
Yeah.
So on page 126 and 127, sorry for interrupting, but
no, you're fine.
Let me let them know, if you haven't read the chapter, on 126 and 127 they have a tank check that he wants you to do like once a week. And you basically ask your spouse, on a scale of 0 to 10, how is your love tank tonight? And then when your spouse gives you a number, like it's a 7 or whatever, then you say, what can I do to help fill it? So you kind of do a check-in once a week with your spouse. Like, how's your love tank? Where are you at right now? And it might be they had a really rough week and they're really, really tired and they're like, it's like a 2. Or they might be like, I'm like an 8,
Yeah, doing good this week.
Yeah, but where it's kind of helping meet it.
That way you can gauge, where they're at.
And then what this gentleman says is that he didn't like that game.
Yeah, he said he says, I played it with my wife. I came home and said to her, on a scale of 0 to 10, how's your love tank tonight? She said, about a 7. I asked, what can I do to help fill it? She said, the greatest thing you could do for me tonight is to do the laundry. I said, love and laundry. I don't get it. Then Dr. Chapman, he says, I said, that's the problem. Perhaps you don't understand your wife's love language. What's your primary love language? Without hesitation, he said physical touch, and especially the sexual part of the marriage. He said, Gary Chapman says, listen to me carefully. I said, the love you feel when your wife expresses love by physical touch is the same love your wife feels when you do the laundry. So his statement was, bring on that laundry.
Because he says, if she feels that good while I'm doing laundry, let's give her that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do love
and
laundry.
meet that love language.
Yeah. And that's the thing is where you feel most loved and at the peak of amazingness, or that you feel loved by your spouse and you just feel amazing, if you meet your spouse's love language in something you wouldn't even think is love, they feel that.
Yep.
They feel loved.
Yep.
And you can feel their love tink.
Yep.
So it's a really good chapter. It's a great self-evaluation to make sure you're on track and you're not manipulating and all of that. And there's lots of good questions. But that's chapter 9. So from from our marriage to yours.
This is Jane and Krista helping you say I do forever. See you guys.
Say I do forever.
That's right.
And ever and ever.
Whoop, whoop.